raped and murdered. There's no cry from anybody, no passion. When the same thing happens in Syria, we hear nothing. When the same thing happens in Libya, we hear nothing. When the same thing happens in Iraq, we hear nothing. When the Ukrainians are violating the rights of other Ukrainians, particularly in the Donbass region, there's nobody crying for those people. What is the reason for that? What about India? Why is there nobody in this country raising the concerns of the Indian minorities, of the Christians and the Muslims whose rights are being violated by the Indian government? Nobody in this country is saying anything about it. Now, NATO went on and bombed many of the Russian allies. Russia could do absolutely nothing about it and stayed out of it. What did Russia say? Demilitarization. Stay away from my Russian borders. If you notice what has been happening since 1990, they are coming closer and closer and closer to the Russian border until they will make Russia so weak that Russia will have no other option but to give in to them. That is what it is all about. But who is the root cause of this whole problem? It is clearly the West and the United States of America that is the root cause of all the mayhem and chaos and destruction all over the world. Let's talk about the biological laboratories which is funded by the Pentagon in Ukraine. Where is it coming from? Why are they getting involved in those? Let's talk about the number of people that were massacred by the Ukrainians who have been detained without trial. Nobody has said anything about that as well. Okay, let's talk about the shelling of the hospitals and the schools and the massacre and the mass graves that were found in Ukraine. Nobody says anything about that. Now, what is Russia asking for? Russia is saying, stay away from my borders and stay away from me. All you have been doing, and remember, Ukraine is being used as a fool by the United States and the West, and they're falling into the trap like many other countries have fallen in the trap previously, and that's what it is all about.
Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom. First, and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. I'm going to like to give double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone and rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, and those in the gospel abroad, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. It's a quick lesson. That was a video that was sent to me by one of the brothers, basically exposing America's ill dealings in Ukraine and every nation that they invade. Okay, let's be honest with you. This country is not the pinnacle of friendship when it comes to the other nations because of the I can't say that word, but shit, dehumanizing. There it is. Of these other nations that this so-called white man has felt the right to play God. Okay, and Esau, that's not your right to play the Most High, man, because you're not the Most High and you're nothing but a peasant. But see, what happened was over the course of time, you nations, you've partnered through partnerships and various puppet leaders and dictatorships that you've set up with this place. You've allowed Esau Edom to come in and oppress your nation. Okay, like this guy is clearly going in that the Ukraine has been a front as to pushing mass genocide and biological warfare. Because, and that was the spirit, because I was in class today and we was actually having discussions about world politics and health and all this other stuff. And I basically brought it out. I was like, if the whole C-19 ordeal was to be so-called legitimate, why were they hiring, or the Department of Defense, why were they hiring workers prior to the breakout or the beginning of the pandemic? Why were they hiring people for the DARPA and the defense or the Department of Defense behind a so-called health crisis? And we brought this out today in class, man. Well, I brought it out and people was kind of looking and scratching their heads like, damn, that's a good point. Then, of course, you got those that try to make justification. Well, you know, because they say it come out of China. I said, that's bullshit. OK, that's a bio weapon. OK, that was used against the populace, mainly Jake, to dwindle down the numbers, because it's all part of this man's design. And he's going into the fact that how they are creating, or they head biolabs in these societies, in these countries, and oppressing people. OK, and he's been exposed, man. Esau Edom is being exposed as being the devil that the Bible talks about. And when it's said and done, everybody is going to be pointing fingers at Babylon the Great, because Everybody knows the bloody history. Like history tells a story that often repeats itself if kingdoms and regimes aren't changed. And I basically brought it up. I'm like, well, look, the American hegemony or the Western hegemonies, their societies are collapsing. And this is why you have all this demoralization of the people. They're bucking up, they're rioting. People don't have a care in the world about their careers and shit like that. I'm like, because you're witnessing the fall of an empire. And if all you scholars out there that's so familiar with history from the time of the Greeks to the Romans, you are very well aware that the American empire or the Western hegemonies are following the same trend of the ancient Roman hegemony. And they all falling, okay, through militaries being spread too thin, through divisive tactics, through a monarchy, through the economy or the currency being totally devalued, okay, moral decay, the corrosion, okay, the roads, the bridges are falling, the air we're fighting. We're witnessing a full-fledged collapse that's going to get worse in due time, okay, and it's getting worse. Matter of fact, it's getting worse by the day. Okay, so you're going to continue to witness America be exposed, or the so-called white man Esau Edom, because we understand that that America is behind the spearheading of this wickedness on the planet Earth. She's the top culprit. But overall, this has something to do with the nation of people, which is known as the biblical Edomites, which the scriptures refer to you as the wicked that the Bible talks about. Okay, you're the wicked and you're being exposed. And like the scriptures go into shameful spewing upon thy glory. You're being exposed. You're being exposed of having biolabs in different countries, setting up novel viruses and destroying populations and dropping bombs on people and, displacing particular societies and integrating them with your bullshit or with your democracy. Like we went into the whole thing of Tulsa, Oklahoma. That was not the only state that witnessed persecution or being racially segregated by the so-called white man. No, yeah, a lot of states, majority every state in this damn society had some form of a Black Wall Street because Jake was prospering as a unit. Okay, because prior to once we left so-called slavery or chattel slavery, Jake was pretty much able to do things and set up businesses. Those of them that fought in the Civil War and those that had family and so forth, they set up businesses on Wall Street, Black Wall Street, and they had their own societies. And what did Esau do? He came in and he destroyed it and came up with the Civil Rights Movement, which was set up to integrate our people into a controlled opposition. Because when you still hold the power seat and you still write the policies and the laws and so forth, integrating people will be for your benefit because now you're able to dictate the course of the laws. Okay, hence the crack pandemic, the opioid. Now and everybody's crying about opioids, but that ain't nothing but a payback unto you because of what you've done to the children of Israel. So, you Edomites that's crying out against opiates, hey, kudos to you. All right. But anyway, this is the book of Habakkuk 2, and I'm going to start at verses 4. It says, behold, his soul, which is lifted up in him, is not right in him, but the just shall live by his faith. But yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man. And what is the wine? The wine is the philosophies. Like we was kind of talking to the teacher today, she was like, well, science is science. You got to trust the science. And then I'm like, well, who decides what's science and what's not? And even the co-workers was like, well, science is all bullshit. It's all estimated. It's all a hypothesis, which is an estimated guess. And I can agree with that because if you look at so-called science from an Edomite perspective and these scientists, you got to understand who still write the laws. They're still biased in these things. So they're able to conjure up science in their own verdict as being beneficial to how they want to run the world versus to what it really is. Because everybody knows the cure to getting better is eating properly, having a proper diet, having a healthy gym regimen or exercise regimen, or having a mental clarity or adequate mental health is the key to getting better. Okay. But see, when you have a society that push mental illness on people through the policies and through the wickedness and the agendas that's being pushed on the youth, like social media, the LGBT, we have these things set up in store. That's causing mental degradation, which people are declining cognitively, which affects their health. Okay, so you can't sit up here and say, well, science is a proven fact when you're able to split this atom and control that or this particular subscription of medicine combats this illness, but it give you 10 other effects. No, that's not fucking science. That's witchcraft. Okay, and you see these doctors and these teachers, these lawyers, they have curriculums to follow. They have to be in a gray area because they took an oath. But those outside of that, we're able to speak freely. You know what I'm saying? Like science is basically point A and point B. Okay, if I have a sore throat or whatever, what's the remedy for that? You got lemon, garlic, ginger, these things. If I'm fat, what's the remedy for that? Getting exercise. That's fucking science. It's proven. It works. Not a bunch of fucking Edomite devils that's sitting behind an executive desk conjuring up wickedness to kill off a population of people. That's bullshit, man. And that's his wine. That's his philosophies. But when you speak like that, you're considered against a high treasonous. Then so be it, man. Okay? Because, hey, we ain't doing anything but speaking the truth. But it says, neither keep it at home. Why do you have biolabs in the Ukraine? Why are you shooting bombs or why are you setting up no-fly zones over so-called sovereign lands? Like the whole coup out there in Turkey years ago. And then you got Syria, when you was at war with Syria, and setting up central banks and lands that's foreign to you. Why are you in these lands, man, that have nothing to do with you? Same thing with Omar Gaddafi. Free healthcare, okay, free schooling, basically trying to set up a gold standard or a standard that the currency and the people can thrive off of to set up a sustainable society. What right do you have to go over there to put that man to death and then demonize him like he was a mass terrorist? Okay, same thing with Saddam Hussein. Now all your fucking history is coming back to bite you in the ass. And even a teacher admitted it today, and she was an Edomite. She said, yeah, critical race theory. She said, but it's not theory. And I said, you're right, it's a fact. She said, you're right, it's absolutely facts. Okay, so that whole critical race theory is not a theory, it's a fact. It's a fact that you've destroyed Israelites and put them in captivity and took them from one land to the next. It's a fact that you've went over there and staged a war on terror for your ill gains and your whole setting up of a tenocracy. You know what I'm saying? That's a fucking fact. Just because your scientists don't admit to it and just because they have what they call plausible deniability doesn't take away from the fact, Esau. And this is where you're getting trapped up at, man. And it says, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keep it at home, who enlarges his desire as hell. And it's as death, man, because everywhere you go is bloodshed, is war. Okay, you would take the most peacefulest places on the earth and you would turn it to a fucking war zone, man. Okay, out there in Ghana, different parts of Africa, different parts of Europe was like literally like paradise on earth. But what do? You send your military over there, your proud boys, and then you rape the women, you kill the children, you bring viruses. And then before you know it, it looks like a fucking wasteland, man. Okay, look at what you did to America. America was a paradise prior to you getting over here. Then all of a sudden you get over here, the fucking common cold, the flu, smallpox, fucking the cockroach, the rat, the roach. These things end up here over the shores of America, man. They didn't even have horses on this side of the world. You brought them over here. But America was a fucking paradise when God was living over here. Though God was being wicked, but still, they lived a holistic way of life. Now all of a sudden you got these concrete jungles, you got these cities filled up with pollution, you got fucking 15,000 foot buildings erected in the middle of these cities, man. Concrete everywhere, pollution, fish are dying off, ecosystems are destroyed. You're a total, you're the devil, man. You are basically anti-life. And it says, and as death and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations and heap it unto him all people. Democracy. Everybody got to accept the American way of life. Or if you don't accept the U.S. dollar, then basically we're going to consider you opposition against world safety. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, you're not a leader of the free world now because you're not accepting or the Momo agenda in societies, man, which we know that comes with diseases and death. Here you sit up here and have a whole thing about the HIV and about how we need to prevent it, but yet you willingly allow momos to walk around here unpunished, and found out that disease was mainly among the Momo community. And of course it was a genocidal thing that was experimented on Jake, but mainly Momo men got that disease because, for one thing, it's a curse and it's unclean. Like it was even a study that, hey, if you even had penetrate, or if you ever had sexual intercourse with a woman that's have HIV, you're unlikely to contract it. You know how many people that are sleeping with people out here with AIDS and ain't caught the shit, but yet a man go up another man's rectum, then he has it because that was set up that way. And on top of that, that's a disease for the wicked. But you let these men continue to thrive in society, and then you have these TG shows literally promoting straight up buffoonery, death on kids, and these allowed in the schools, man. And you wonder why your society is all fucking depressed. You're counterproductive to life. You know, like you push health, but then you got Burger King on every goddamn corner. Instead of having natural farm stands, you got Burger King set up. You know what I'm saying? Wendy's, Chipotle's. And these are the foods that we've grown up with. You know, yeah, they taste good, but overly consuming them, you will become ill and you can die from it. You know, but it says, should not these take up a parable against him? And that's what that guy was doing. It says, in a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and to him that laden himself with thick clay. That word clay goes into abayit, which means heavy debt. That's the reason why you're over 30-something trillion in debt, and this is the reason why you're getting ready to set up a CBDC or a Fed now currency, a digital currency, because you justify on imploding this dollar to the point that it has no more value to it. That was all done by design. Taking the dollar off the gold standard, that was all done by design to bring in this technocracy. So the micro CHIP has already been in talks before they even decided to do what they were going to do. With the whole establishment of the Federal Reserve in 1913, all these things were a foreshadow as to putting the micro CHIP in you, because every dollar bottoms out roughly around 100 years. Okay, now you got 1913 to what, the 71, it was taken off the gold standard. So that's 23, 33, 43, 53, 63, 73. That was roughly 60 something, almost 60 years till you took the money off the gold standard, and now it wasn't worth anything. Okay, then you fast forward another 81, 91, 2001, okay, 2012. That's roughly almost fucking what 1913 to, that's over almost 100 years, man. You know, 90 years, 2023, 100 years, a dollar bottoms out after 100 fucking years. Okay, because the dollar came to fruition as the world reserve currency after World War II. But remember, they established the Federal Reserve in 1913. You know what I'm saying? So it's been over 100 years already, man. Okay, but it says, shall they not rise up suddenly that should bite thee? In the wake that should vex thee, and thou should be booties unto them, and booties goes into spoils. It says, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because all these nations are coming against you. That's why the scripture said that the dead is stirred up at thy coming, roughly paraphrasing it. The dead represents the other nations. It says, thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land and of the city, and all them that dwell therein. So ask yourself, what nation of people does this fit? Okay, only thing you got to do is do the history, do the research, and look at one group of people, one race of people on the planet Earth that this criteria fit, and through process of elimination, and it's not even a hard equation. Okay, what they say, E equals MC squared, or A plus B equals C, or 1 plus 2 equals 3. By process of elimination, this fits no other than a so-called white man, bro. The Edomites. Clearly, the Edomites. I mean, they stand out like a sore thumb. And if you can't see that this is talking about the so-called white man, then you ain't in the spirit of the Lord, man. And you're lost. Okay? And it says, but woe to him that covered the evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, and that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Right? Because Esau really believes that his bunkers, his satellites, he believed that he's going to escape the judgment of the Heavenly Father. He believed that somewhere in his spirit, he's not going to get tarred off and put into captivity. It says, for the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it. But woe to him that builded a town with blood and established a city by iniquity. Okay, and this is what Esau did in America. This is what he did in Britain, France, okay, Spain. Okay, he's took over these lands from colored people, and then look at what he's doing in Ukraine. Like the Russians basically told him, stay away from our borders. Russia is part of the Ukraine. That's their land. Fuck you doing over there, man? Setting up these pro-militia groups to go against their union, so to speak, and then lying and guiding them under the form of NATO. Well, you know, the Ukrainians feel oppressed by the Russians, so therefore they want to be part of NATO. No, that's not true, because majority of those Ukrainians, they still voted to stay under the Russian rule. Okay, under the whole USSR, the Soviet Union rule, the dominant rule of the Eastern Bloc. They decided they wanted to be under that because they knew that was home country. But you come in there and you spread your fucking venom as usual, like the devil you are, like the snake you are, and then here we go. You have wars, rumors of wars. You have ecosystems being depleted. The air is polluted. Now you got this war on global warming. Oh, well, global warming. Motherfucker, you responsible for the bullshit that's going on in the planet Earth. Blaming shit on global warming. Nigga, you created that. You know? But it says, behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire. And that's what we going through, man. Okay? And the people should weary themselves for very vanity. Because it's pointless, man. People get up, this rat race. You know, people running a show just to try to make ends meet. People are losing hope. You know, all for your sick dealing. All of the keep yourself just a misery, just a devil, man. He got all the money in the world, all the land, all the substance, all the businesses. But his thing is he wants to see people suffer. It's never good enough when people live in harmony. He wants people to suffer. That's why the scriptures say that, hey, the Lord will set up one that is profitable over it in due time. Yahweh Shai is going to be profitable over this earth, man. We're going to literally live on the planet Earth. Okay, the planet Earth wasn't set up for the Israelites to be in captivity our whole fucking existence. We've been a fucking slave our whole goddamn existence, man. The only peace of mind we had was in the beginning when we was the sons of Adam, which we still are, okay, through the line of Adam, through Seth, through our Faxad, okay, the righteous line. And then when King Solomon displayed 40 years of peace. But immediately after Solomon went off and we went down, the kingdom split, went into captivity through the Babylonians and the Assyrians. And before you know it, it was captivity after misery, after death, to the point we know no life, man. We didn't know a life in our past life. We didn't know a life prior to that. We was always subjected into some fucking body. And you ask yourself, like, damn, the Lord really stuck it to us. We don't know what it's like to live. And that's why when we get in the kingdom, everything is going to be so appreciated, brothers. Okay, because even the other nations are going to appreciate us beating the hell out of their ass and putting them in captivity and releasing them, because they're going to understand the balance of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, and they're going to learn to worship the Lord. And they're going to know what it's like to have a righteous rulership versus a wicked dictatorship, which we're currently under. Okay, this world is full of darkness and death. You can't even enjoy life, man. You know, this ain't what life is about. Like my man Marvin Gaye said, this ain't living. It ain't living. But it says, for the earth should be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. And that's coming. And we're starting the process by teaching the word. But woe unto them that give it his neighbor drink, that puttest thy bottle to him and maketh him drunk also, that thou mayest look upon their nakedness, man. That's like you giving somebody the needle. You know what I'm saying? You know that this drug is going to totally depress and destroy this person, but you give it to him anyway. Like, here, man. You know, Esau, you're basically like a drug dealer times 100, man. You putting a poisonous substance to people just to watch them right away. You worse than Nino Brown is basically that's the Edomite mindset, man. That's why it's a song by the 2 Live Crew called To the Dust, basically from the New Jack City soundtrack. They basically say there's a Nino Brown in every city, but who sets him up? Esau. You know, but it says, thou art filled with shame for glory. Drink thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. And the cup of the Lord's right hand should be turned unto thee, and shameful spirits should be upon thy glory, man. Okay, and that's why everybody is looking at your Confederate statues. They want to take down these slave posts, you know, because all the nations know that your whole history